Hey guys, welcome into the Stink Truth Podcast. Mark Schlereth alongside Mike Evans. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. By the way, records set last week. The most viewed podcasts from a back-to-back, 2 shows in a row. Most viewed podcasts for you and I ever on YouTube. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Continue to click that subscribe button and continue to share with your friends. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Great. We have nowhere to go but down. So, hey, let's make this a good one. Okay, Let's do it. You and I have always enjoyed over the years doing our radio show, poking fun at the Chargers by saying, well, at the end of the day, Chargers going to Charger. Last night we saw Cowboys going to Cowboy, huh?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I think about when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys.
You're never short of things to say about the Cowboys.
Right. But, Mike McCarthy, I'm going to plant my flag. They should retain Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is not the issue with the Dallas Cowboys. You think about it. Mike McCarthy, 12 wins, 3 years in a row with 12 wins. Now, I realize that last year in the playoffs, they, spit the bit and crapped in their helmets against the Green Bay Packers. But you don't go by 12 wins. Don't throw 12-win seasons away. And when I watch the Dallas Cowboys, man, you can say whatever you want about the Dallas Cowboys. But you know what? I don't see a coaching issue with the Dallas Cowboys. I see a talent issue with the Dallas Cowboys. I see Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, letting free agents and letting players just walk away and not replacing those players and saying, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm not going to replace anybody. We got some young players. I don't know their names, but I'm sure they're good. Like, you watch them. You're not winning games. I'm sorry, Cooper Rush is a nice backup. You're not winning games with Cooper Rush. You have no semblance of a running game. You didn't address the offensive line with the guys you lost, guys like Biotish that left and went to Washington, is making a difference there. You didn't address that. Listen, I think Micah Parsons is a phenomenal football player. He's one of the best football players in the National Football League, bar none, period, stop, the end. He's great. But you know the old quarterback saying, Mike, if you have two, you don't have one?
Right.
So the opposite is true for the defense. If you have one, you gotta have two. Because if you have two, then the one can be effective or the other can be effective. But when you only have one, you don't have enough. I don't know if that made sense, but you know what I'm trying to get to. Just go with me on this. Like, to me, you break the huddle, the first thing and the only thing you have to be concerned with is where's 11? Right. Oh, there he is. How are we going to deal with 11? Because you're going to double team him 100% of the time, and you're going to figure out that you can survive on the rest of the guys. Like, it becomes a very easy, hey, are we going to slide to him? Okay, let's do that. Oh, let's you keep a tight end in. We're going to block it. Okay, let's do that. Oh, we're going to chip it back with him. Okay, let's do that. Okay, how we're going to motion it back from the outside or a tight end from the outside, and we're going to chip that way. Like, there's a million different ways to take one effective pass rusher out of a game plan. When I look at the Dallas Cowboys, there's one guy that makes my butthole pucker. And that's Micah Parsons. And there's nobody else on that defense that gives you any pucker factor. So the bottom line to me is this is not a coaching issue. Now, I know Mike McCarthy will probably be the guy that pays the ultimate price because I know Jerry Jones isn't firing himself or Jerry Jones isn't going to hold himself accountable. But the bottom line, it's not a coaching issue. This is a personnel issue with the Dallas Cowboys. And that's it. Like, it's not Mike McCarthy's fault. They're playing hard. They're playing their ass off. They're doing all those things. There's just not enough talent on that football team.
I get that there's drama and dysfunction and a sense of chaos around a team like the Dallas Cowboys. Explain to me what's going on in Philadelphia right now for a team that's 11-2, just came off another win the other day. And yet immediately after that game, you got A.J. Brown complaining about the passing game, complaining about his role in the passing game, and calling into question now all kinds of questions and attention, honestly, unwanted attention at this point when it comes to what's going on between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Now, as the story goes, Like, I don't really remember the entirety of the story because I'm old and I've been hit in the head a lot. So, but I sat down with Jalen. I kind of got off center there. I apologize, man. I'm all over the place. I'm out of control, Mike. So I'm going to draw and talk at the same time because I want to show you something, okay? Because you, my friend, have got some issues.
Me?
So, yeah. So anyhow, as the story goes, Mike, as I'm drawing, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts became best of friends back in the day when, I don't know, they were getting recruited or whatever, okay? So they became best of friends, and they were like, man, we should someday play together. Wouldn't be that be a dream? And then he goes to Tennessee, and A.J. Brown goes to Tennessee, and Jalen Hurts goes to Philadelphia, and, the rest is history, okay? So that's what happens, and they stay in contact. They're texting each other and Zooming and doing all that, or FaceTime and doing all that stuff, right? And so that's kind of the story between those two guys. And then there seems to be a falling out. And Brandon Graham, the defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles, mentioned that there is a falling out and they're no longer friends. And that's an issue. Get over it. I've got one rule in life. Don't be a turd, right? Don't be a selfish turd. You guys have an issue. Fight it out, duke it out, do whatever you have to do. But at some point, bury it and move on because it's hurting you as a football team. Go back to the second play of the game last week. There's a wide open. A.J. Brown goes trucking down the football field in the inside, inside the numbers, right down the sideline. He's rolling the red line. Boom, gone, right? And they're playing a cover 3, and they're running a layers route or a levels route, right? So he's deep. There's a guy that's in cut, on a sail route, in cut, that's the intermediate, and then there's somebody in the flat. And Jalen Hurts is watching. The cornerback, who's J.C. Horn, stops and takes the intermediate route. It's a wide open touchdown. If you just let it rip, it's a touchdown, at least a 60-yard gain, if the safety can get over and make a tackle, right? Jalen Hurts watches it, sees it, and goes, yeah, and throws the check down for about 3 yards. And I'm like, just let it rip. I felt like Sam Kinison. Throw it! Throw it! Throw it! You're watching it. You're like, what's going on here? And I think Jalen Hurts.
Look him up, kids. Look him up.
I bet Jalen Hurts has been so coached up about not turning the ball over that now he's become so, so afraid to make a mistake that he's not taking a chance. He's not pushing the ball down the football field. So I understand some frustration. But you can't let your personal feelings boil over, man. There's a lot of guys that I played with that I don't want to pick out curtains with. Love Bill Romanowski as a teammate. I didn't want to pick out curtains with a guy. Like, I didn't want to room with him, move in with him. Like, no, thanks, Bill. It's good. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that wouldn't want to room with me. I got my idiosyncrasies as well. But what is it with the wide receiver position? You've got A.J. Brown in Philadelphia. After the game, he's like, we got a passing issue. Like, I didn't get mine, so I'm going to be pissed. You won 9 freaking games in a row. What is it with you diva wide receivers that have a your self-importance level is just through the roof? Calm down. It's not about you. It's about us.
Well,
what the hell's wrong with you?
How about Deebo Samuel?
Yeah.
In San Francisco, he was asked after a big win for San Francisco, he was asked about why is he struggling? And he said, struggling? I'm not struggling. I'm just not getting enough balls.
Right.
What is it with these receivers?
I don't know. Like, he's another guy that's all pissed off, right? He's all upset. He's not getting enough action. He needs more footballs thrown his way, this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, dude, stop it. Stop. Like, first off, stay in your lane. How'd you become an NFL superstar? You became an NFL superstar because why? Because of your versatility, man. You're running the ball out of the backfield. You're running the jet sweeps. You're running the orbit sweeps. You're running the reverses. You're running the passes. Like, they're creating explosive plays for you. Dude, now what? All of a sudden, I want to be an X receiver because Ayuk makes more money than me. Now I want to be something I'm not. You're not, you didn't get paid because you're a precise route runner. You got paid because you're a fullback that plays wide receiver and you're damn good at it. And that should be good enough. But no. It's all about me, and I'm not getting enough touches, and I'm not getting enough love, and I should make more money. And, you know, the old saying, there's no I in team, but there's one in the a-hole. That's the wide receiver position right here, Mike. No I in team, but you see that I right there in the a-hole? That's the wide receiver position. A-hole. A-hole, Mike. You see it? T-E, a-hole, I-M.
That's an I?
An eye in the a-hole right there.
I honestly, I'd never heard about this before. Any of you out there ever?
See it?
I can see it, but I can see it, but I've never heard it. You make it sound like it's like one of the most famous sayings ever. I've never heard of it.
You know what? They didn't talk about that in the JV locker room.
They
only talked about that the varsity locker room, wow. And you know, and where the big boys play.
I see, the big boys. But you know, whether it's AJ Brown, whether it's Deebo Samuel, is it these guys that they're thinking this way? It's part of who they are, or is it just, are they surrounded by people? Because you're right, the amount of work and sacrifice that they had to put in to get to this point, you know, it's hard to believe that they just all of a sudden forget all that and just become this selfish diva that places self above team. Is it more a case of the people that are around them and constantly in their ears that lead them to make these comments that, quite frankly, if I'm a teammate of one of these guys, I'm like, shut the hell up.
Yeah, it sickens me. I guess it probably has to do with the people around you, your agent. You listen to the wrong people, in my opinion. You need to listen to ex-offensive linemen, right? Guys that just sacrifice, guys that understand team, guys that understand the team within the team, guys that realize that I can't be good unless we're all really good. Like it's the ultimate team within the team, the offensive line. And unfortunately, the receivers, there is just, I don't know when it happened, Mike, when all of a sudden the receiving core became overvalued. And, you know, I don't know exactly when it happened.
Yeah, because they weren't always divas. The receivers really weren't thought of that way. I think it's probably a phenomenon that's maybe happened in the last 10 to 15 years, maybe, that these receivers have become, because it used to be cornerbacks, honestly, and that was kind of led by Deion Sanders. Some of the cornerbacks were more divas than wide receivers, but yeah, these wide receivers they're out of control right now. Hey, in your opinion, who made more of an impression on you? The Bills in their loss, 44-42 to the Rams, or the Chiefs in another one of those close call wins?
Probably the Bills, because that's a game that you should lose. Like you did lose it. So the game you should lose by double digits. Yep. Let me rephrase that comment. That's it. That's a game that you should just lose by double digits. And yet your quarterback, who, by the way, is going to win the MVP. Is there any question that Josh Allen's going to win the MVP? I mean, is there any guy that's more valuable to his team than Josh Allen is to the Buffalo Bills? The dude is the first quarterback, a first player in history to throw 3 touchdowns and rush for 3 touchdowns in the same game. It's absolutely remarkable. Remarkable. Now, the issue that I have in that particular game, though, Mike, is and this might not be fair, but I don't really trust the coaching staff of the Buffalo Bills.
Why?
Like, you listen to that broadcast, Tom Brady was all over it. Hey, listen, right now, all you're trying to do is score and maintain your 3 timeouts so that you can kick it deep and you can get them off the field and still have 40, 45 seconds to kick a field goal for a win if you can score a touchdown. And they played that way the entirety of the drive, man. Every throw was out to the sideline, getting out of bounds, all those things. They conserved all 3 timeouts. They got to like the 1-yard line, and then they ran QB sneak. And they had converted on QB sneak on several times. They pilfered the QB sneak from the Philadelphia Eagles, the brotherly shove. And they tried to be tricky, and they motioned into it late, and the timing of it was screwed up, and he gets stopped, and they have to call a timeout. Well, now now instead of being able to get a stop on the defensive side of the ball, use your timeouts and get the ball with 45 seconds, now you got to revert to an onside kick where you got about a 6% chance of getting that. Like, it just made me think about the 2001 playoff game, the divisional game to the Chiefs, where you got 13 seconds left and you kick it so they can get the fair catch and they don't have to return it. You don't squib it. You don't mortar kick it to make them return the ball. Like, no time comes off the clock. If you make them use 5 seconds, that game is over and you've won it. And so that's probably unfair, but that's what I think. That's what happened, and I watched that thing play out. I'm like, all right, you got three chances from the 1 yard line to score here, but you got to throw it 3 times. Or you kick the field goal and you kick it deep and retain your 3 timeouts, and then you have to go for a touchdown. Regardless, the mismanagement at the end of that game was serious. Like, I didn't understand it.
Well, it's something that'll probably hang over Sean McDermott and his staff until they prove in these situations that they can make the right calls and handle their clock and be able to come out with a win.
Well, the one thing that did blow me away, though, was, like, we talk about diva wide receivers. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the Rams and the opposite of diva wide receivers. Yeah. Now, they played for my boy Eric Yarber. Eric Yarber's a wide receiver coach with the LA Rams. Guy played with college football, phenomenal, just a phenomenal coach, and his guys play their asses off. And I'm here to tell you, man, give me Cooper Kupp, give me Puka Nacua any day of the week. You want to talk about unselfishness? How about Puka Nacua's catch on the sideline? They convert 11 of 15 third downs. Matthew Stafford is just a witch. And those two guys, on the Puka Nacua last touchdown where he catches a little bubble screen, a little tear screen, Cooper Kupp is over there just eating somebody's freaking lunch. Wham! Just, And I'm like, dude, you could be an honorary guard. He played at Eastern Washington, so that makes me hate him a little bit. Yeah. But I'm telling you what, for an Eastern Washington guy, he's not as bad as most Eastern Washington guys.
Says the Idaho guy.
Right.
But you're right about Kupp. And you've always on this podcast been very complimentary of Cooper Kupp as an all-around player. But, he'd also be very willing to stick his nose into the run game as a blocker, but he was also catching 8-9 balls per game. Right now, he's seen his role, especially this past week, diminish, where Puka Nacua had 12 catches, and yet he didn't hang his head. He didn't complain. He didn't sulk. He didn't look over and say, hey, look at Nacua getting all these targets. He's there throwing great blocks for Puka Nacua. Yeah. That's a football player. The guys like A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel could learn a thing or two. And I know that Kyle Shanahan, especially in San Francisco, he wants his receivers to play like that.
Yeah, absolutely. He coaches it all the time. And, I said it weeks ago when there was a little dust up on the sideline and Deebo Samuel's trying to choke out Pepper Tabor, their deep snapper. And I'm like, things aren't copacetic here. There's issues in San Francisco. And listen, man, I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from Deebo Samuel this offseason. He cost them 28 million on the cap or whatever. They cut him after June 1st. I think it's a $17 million cap relief. I wouldn't be surprised if Deebo's playing somewhere else, but be careful. Be careful, because you might wind up in Jacksonville, where players go to die. Oh, wait, I'm calling the Jacksonville game this weekend. You might wind up somewhere you don't want to be. Not Jacksonville. It's a great place.
Because Jacksonville is a great place to turn your career around.
Correct. Now, nobody's going to see it get turned around, but it's a great place to turn around.
We'll talk about that in the podcast later this week. I can't wait to hear about your interaction with Aaron Rodgers this week.
We're going to be.
Cannot wait.
Aaron and I are tighter than mouse nuts. I'm sure nothing I've said on television or on the podcast has gotten back to Aaron Rodgers. Listen, man, I love Aaron. Aaron knows I love him, but I am a avuncular. Let's call it an avuncular figure. And if you act like a asswipe, I'm going to say you're an asswipe.
Oh, okay. So you're going to lead with that. Hey, Aaron, whatever you've heard, I'm your daddy.
Aaron, you know that I love you. Don't be a turd.
Don't be a turd. Real quick, I don't want to lose what you said about Buffalo, that this was a game that they probably should have lost by double digits. Why?
Well, I just think statistically, you look at everything that went down, and 11 of 15 on third down conversions, the number of points that the Rams were able to score. You had a big lead, in the third quarter, and the Buffalo Bills just kept fighting back. There was every reason in the world. You just won a big game against San Francisco. You're out to L.A. You got Detroit coming up the next week. Yeah. Everything pointed to you folding your tents and going, okay, boys, let's just dust this one off and let's move on to Detroit because we got a big one. And nope, you dropped a set of nuts and you went for it and you tried to win it. And ultimately, you fell short, and some of that, like I said, was coaching to me. Like it was a bad decision at the end of the game. But the bottom line is I came out of that going, man, I have a ton of respect. I have a ton of respect for the Bills, and be careful because the Rams control their own destiny. And if they win out, they win the division. The NFC West is theirs if they can win out. And man, I would not put that against, I would not bet against Matthew Stafford. I would not bet against the rest of those guys.
I brought up Buffalo in the context of Kansas City. 15th straight one-score game that the Chiefs have won, which is an NFL record. They continue to do it. They get the doink, and the doink goes through. Every other team gets a doink and ends up being a miss. They get the doink, it goes through. I know I ask this question of you every single week, but I got to ask it again. Come on, at some point, does their luck run out? Or am I mistaken in calling it luck?
You know what Poolside used to say?
This is your dad.
Yeah, my dad, Poolside. Anytime, it used to drive me crazy too, because you're a kid. You know how it is, right? You're sulking. You're feeling sorry for yourself. Somebody got voted ahead of you as the prettiest guy in school.
I see what you did there.
Son of a bitch.
I see what you did there. That is so good. Zoom high five. Zoom high five.
You son of a bitch. And I'd say, man, I got screwed. The other guy got the prettiest boy at school. And my dad would say, you know what he'd say? He'd say, luck has the smell of perspiration. The harder I work, the luckier I get. And, to me, it's true. It's 100% true. It's about work and all those things. But, man, the Chiefs drive me crazy. Do they not drive everybody else crazy?
America. How do you feel? Of course.
Dude, three games. Okay, they have played Carolina, Raiders, and the Chargers. And they have won all three games by the sum total of, get ready, drum roll, please, 7 points. Like that, it's so Chiefs, and yet they seem to be able every week to overcome an inability to block the edge. Of course, the refs let all their offensive tackles jump off sides every play, so they don't call that. But I don't know, man. I just get to the point. Can you win a Super Bowl like this? Yeah, you could. Is it going to be easy? No, it's not. If anybody could do it, would I bet on the Chiefs to do it? Yep, I would. It's just annoying, Mike. It's just completely annoying.
Yeah. I think that's the word to use. I think you speak for everybody when you, other than Chiefs Kingdom, when you say that. Hey, nobody knows the NFC South better than you.
Yes, that's true.
So, with your intimate knowledge of the NFC South, is it time for Atlanta to turn to Michael Penix?
Listen, if you would have asked me that this morning, I would have said, nope, it's not time. But then on my show, Breakfast Ball, Danny Parkins came with some statistics. Damn you, Danny, damn you. Because you know I hate statistics, Mike. I hate analytics nerds with the white-hot intensity of 1,000 suns. They come at me with all these, and this and that, and no, on the fourth down, you should go for this. Like, oh, shut up. Shut up! Do you know in the last 4 games, Kirk Cousins has thrown exactly 0 TDs and 4 interceptions? Let me count them off for you, Mike. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 interceptions. 4. Unbelievable. So, like, at this point, now, if you can win out, Tampa's a game ahead of you. If Tampa wins out and you win out, it doesn't matter. But if you can catch Tampa, you've got the tiebreaker over Tampa. Now, Tampa's got a fairly easy schedule, save the Chargers, I think is their next game. Yep. But the Chargers, have lost some injuries to the running backs, some injuries to the wide receivers. And right now, a lot of teams are just trying to play them man-to-man, feeling like, hey, we'll get an extra guy in the box and we'll beat you up on the, physicality of the run game and all that kind of stuff. So I think the Chargers are a bit vulnerable right now as well. So, if now is not the time, when is the time? You drafted him for such a time as this, right? Where Kirk Cousins looks injured and old and isn't producing, and you're in a 21-21 ball game and you throw another pick, and the next thing you know, you fumble, a kickoff return, and the next thing you know, the Minnesota Vikings are blowing you out. Yep. At some point, I don't know what the out in the contract is, but I would imagine there's an out. I just at some point you gotta see what Michael Penix is, right? You got to give him some opportunity, right? This isn't even about, hey, the season's getting out of control, let's see what we got in the future. This just might be more of a, hey, the season's getting out of control. We got to put somebody else in there that maybe just can save this season and look at it that way. Yeah, I don't know that Michael Penix is going to save the season, but I mean, 0 touchdowns and is it 4 or 8 interceptions? He's been throwing a lot of picks of late. I think I had that wrong. I think it's 8. Wait a minute. I think it's 1, 2, 3. Here we go again. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think it's 8 interceptions. You Hutz, not you. Yeah, I think, my camera keeps go up and down, up and down. I apologize to all of you folks watching us on YouTube because my camera has got a mind of its own. It's up and down. It's trying, you know what it's trying to do? It's trying to focus on these baby blues. Look at that. Yeah. Well, you were the second prettiest boy in your school, so I made that up. I was the first prettiest. I know you were. I know you were the first prettiest boy. I know that. I know that. Damn, I think it's 8 interceptions. In the last 4 games, it's 0 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Yes. So, that. What do you got to lose? I mean, you're still in a winnable division. Yeah. If sending Kirk Cousins out there is just a recipe to keep losing, then what do you got to lose? You drafted this guy 8th overall. Yeah. And a lot of these rookie quarterbacks have not looked like, they've been completely overwhelmed. So, Penix is, 32 years old right now. So, he shouldn't be overwhelmed. Sure, and there's good precedent for removing one injured quarterback for another injured quarterback. Like you're taking an injured quarterback from the NFL and replacing him with the all-time injury quarterback in college football. So you got that going for you, right? I know. Quit. Penix fans, quit it. I'm just joking around. 8 interceptions, no touchdowns in the last 4 games. I did the math, Mike. That's 2 interceptions per game. And 0 touchdowns per game. That's Stop it. 1, Stop it. 2, Stop it. And that's 0 touchdowns. All right. I think on that note, we say goodbye. Hey, for everybody involved in the Stinkin, I'm sorry about this camera. It's
I think you got it. I think you got it knocked off, and it started rattling when you were trying to draw your no I and A, and it started rattling.
I know. I take full responsibility for the ridiculousness of this, the inconsistency of this camera shot.
Yes, it's all on
I
you.
will listen. I am fat, I am white, and I am sick about it. And I am going to make sure that I do everything in my power to fix this situation for the next show that we do.
Exactly. All right. Let's wash it off, flush it out.
Right.
Be better next time, okay?
Everything in my power will be, I'm going to plug it in the exact same way I always plug it in, and I'm going to sit the exact same place I always sit. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Just like it. Listen to me. See, I fixed it. Oh, now I know what I'm doing. Hey, up yours, everybody.
No, okay.
Okay.
All right.
For everybody in the Stinkin, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth podcast, for Mike, I am Mark, and like I said, up yours.